I'm just here with your 570 Ranger, and I just wanted to go over some of the issues that I found with the bike during your service. There will be a checklist at the end that tells you everything that I checked over on the bike, but I'm just going to concentrate on the things that need further attention. So, I'll start here at the back of the bike, run through this for you as quick as I can. Both sides, so the left side and the right side, you need wheel bearings, so you can see the axle moving and the wheel moving individual of the bearing carrier. And I'm not sure if I can do it with one hand or not. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. You can actually see at the bottom, for sure, you can see that the bearing carrier is moving individual of the control arms. So that would be your bushings and your sleeves and the top and the bottom of that bearing carrier. The control arm to the frame mounting bushings and sleeves, they seem to be still okay, so I'll grease those all up really good for you, and on both sides, just to make sure they last you a little bit longer. Next, air filter. You can sometimes blow these out with compressed air. I mean, the first few services for sure, usually you can get out of them, but I think that one there has served its purpose. I will take it out and knock it out. If you don't need it, I will get back to you, but I'm thinking that one there has to be changed. So anyway, I will tell you later for sure, one way or the other. Next, we talked about your U-joints and your prop shaft. So the front U-joint, I'd shown you for sure that needs to be replaced, and just as I'd said that usually if the front one's bad, the rear one's bad too, so you do need a rear prop joint, or prop shaft U-joint there as well. Next, you wanted your clutches cleaned and serviced, so you can see all the dirt and everything from belt dust and just dirt that gets sucked in when you're driving in dusty conditions and stuff like that in your drive clutch. And that dirt, what it does is it works away at the sheaves and the pins and all the little steel parts and the bushings and like that sort of thing in the sliding portions of your clutch, because of course your clutch does slide in and out this way as you're accelerating. And so what I did notice, I haven't taken the cover off yet, but one thing I did notice is that I'm not going to stick my fingers in with one hand now. Those weight pins, so that's your weight right there, and that rides up against the roller on your spider. The pin, which is the long bolt with the nut on the end, and the weight. The weights are sloppy in this, so they could go a little bit longer, but I'm going to recommend, where you're doing a clutch service now, this is a good time to be able to, for sure, to replace at least that part of it. And when I pull the cover off and check the sliding sheave bushings and that sort of thing, if I see any other issues, I'll let you know. But so far, I just see an issue with the weight pins and the weights themselves. The rollers, they seem to be okay. I checked all three of those, and they all seem to be spinning all right, and there's no flat spots in them or anything like that, so they're still okay for a little while. Next, your drive belt. So I can probably show you this pretty easy. So this belt has had it. You can see all the cracking, and there's actually a few spots that I saw, and I'm not going to try and find them right now, because I think that pretty well sums up the condition of the belt. She's in pretty rough shape. I would recommend for sure we change that now. If you want to see more evidence, and I can send you along a picture. There's a spot in the belt when you bend it that it's split pretty well through. So I just have to find it again. I'm determined. Anyway, I can send you a picture of that if you need it. Anyway, next, your battery. When you dropped off the bike, when I went out to move it, I noticed it was hard to get it started again, so I thought maybe the charge might be just low in it, so I did charge it up. It is over 12 volts, but it does test to be replaced. The battery's rated at 210 cold cranking amps, and this one's putting out 82. So when I wanted to start it again, I actually had to put a booster pack on it. So I don't know if you noticed the problem with the battery or not, but I'm going to recommend that that battery be replaced now. And I can get you a price for that as well. Next, go up to the front of the bike. On your front end, wheel bearings were all good, and your A-arm bushings are good, and I didn't see a problem with a ball joint yet. I'm going to double check that on this side again. But tie rod ends, both outer tie rod ends, they both have play in them, so I'd recommend replacing those now. When I was checking over the front end, I noticed all this oil staining on your front differential, and I know it's not water staining because, well, it would be dry and look brown, light brown, like everything else by now. So it's a chemical of some kind. I'm going to assume it's oil. It's heavier on the bottom side of the front differential, and I also noticed it on the other side as well, just to a little smaller degree. So I popped the cover off just to see if the fluid was discolored or anything like that, and it wasn't milky, but it almost looks like engine oil. I'm not sure if that's what it is or not. It looks a little discolored. Usually demand drive is a little bit more clear than that, but if it's been running, if it's been a while since the front differential was changed, the fluid was changed in it, so I could see it being that color. But one thing I did notice, that when I hauled the cap off on this side, your Polaris bikes are generally, they're for their trannies and differentials and stuff like that. They call it fill to spill. So basically, there is a set amount that you would put in that front differential. It's somewhere between 200 and 300 milliliters. There is a spec for it. I can look it up. But when you fill those differentials, you fill them until the oil runs out the bottom of the hole, so it starts to dribble out the bottom. When I pulled the cap off on this one, the fluid was actually about halfway up the height of that hole, and it ran out of it a little bit before I had to grab the pan and caught the rest of it in the pan and stuff. But to me, it looked to be that differential was overfull with fluid. And I can see that causing your seals to leak, and maybe you may have a blown seal. I would have to haul the axles out to check that. So to be sure, I could haul them out, or I can just order a seal kit. The seals are accessible on both sides, so that is something that can be changed, and I can give you a price for doing that as well. Anyway, if this is something maybe you had work done to this in the past, you did have a seal problem, and that's why it's all stained like that. If that's the case, then please let me know, and I'll discount it, and we'll just fill up the front differential, and off we'll go. Next, I checked your just as a note, I checked the health of your coolant. It shows about it's good to about minus 25, so just keep that in mind. I did note on your radiator, some of the cooling fins are damaged. I'm not sure. I know that it's a good idea you could keep your the radiators cleaned out. Sometimes they'll get damaged like that if you're using a high pressure hose and it's too close to the fins, because they are aluminum and they damage very easily. I usually recommend using just a regular garden hose spray nozzle as opposed to high pressure, just because of the fact they can get damaged really easy from that. So sometimes you can soak it down with some kind of spray-on cleaner and let it soak for a little bit, and then hose it off, and then go back and hose it off again. This might take 2 or 3 times to get all the dirt and mud out of it if you've been into a muddy spot, but it's something that'll save you from having to replace a radiator from the fins. Too many of the fins getting damaged. So there's a few of them there. You can see that's just what I can show you in the camera. Next, check your brake fluid. Your pads are all good on the bike, so there's no issue there. I did note that the brake fluid is over 4% moisture content. So brake fluid is it's called hygroscopic with a G, and it just means that it's a fluid that absorbs moisture from the air. It has the ability to absorb moisture. And of course, the reservoirs are open to atmosphere. They have a vent hole in them. And over a period of time, the brake fluid will absorb moisture, and that will end up causing corrosion in internal parts and stuff like that in your brake system. And you'll see, like especially on really old bikes where the fluid's never been changed, you'll see the brake fluid get really, really dark brown, and that's of course rust. Anyway, if that's something that you want to have changed now, then you can let me know. I do believe the service interval for changing the brake fluid on a Polaris bike is, on this one anyway, is somewhere around 200 hours. And I think you're over that now. It's 200 hours or 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So if that's something that you'd like to have done, I can flush all those out. It takes about an hour to do that, and I put new .4 fluid in it. I think that's about it. I don't think there was any other big issues besides those things, and I'll send along some pricing for you and let you know how much time it's going to take to do any of those repairs. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying your day, and I'll talk to you soon.